Recently we made it our mission to hunt down every title on the Xbox 360, just so we could share with you our favourite hidden gems for the mighty console. Not all games turn out to be gems though. Some turn out to be trash, and others just turn out to be plain weird. So in today's Xbox 360 video, we will take a look at the titles that left us scratching our heads and saying, what the 50 Cent Blood on the Sand. Blood on the Sand, gameplay wise, is not all that strange. It's your typical third person cover based shooter, but it's the game's existence alone that's kind of bewildering. You see, this is a game that sees you take control of 50 Cent as he goes on a rampage in the Middle East after not being paid the diamond skull he was promised just for doing a gig. Yup, you heard that right. This game features 50 Cent and other members of G-Unit taking on terrorists while shooting, stabbing and cursing along the way, all just because 50 wants his goddamn diamond skull. It's a hilariously dumb plot that elevates this game into being something kind of special, and that's the other weird thing about this game. It has no right to be as good or as fun as it actually is.
Where's my skull? That bitch has got my skull, and I want it back. Where's my skull?
Catherine. Catherine is unlike anything you are ever likely to play again. The game is essentially split into two genres, with the daytime segments that play out like a social simulator, and the nighttime segments that are block manipulating puzzle based missions that occur in your character's nightmares. These segments also have your character running around in his underwear for some reason, while being assaulted by some truly disgusting and sometimes overtly sexual monstrosities. The game story is best not spoiled, but as zany and as weird as the game is, it does take its subject matter of relationships, choices, and cheating deadly serious. Catherine may be a weird and wild ride, but it's one I recommend you check out. Battle vs. Chess. Battle vs. Chess is, well, the classic game of chess, but it's smothered in heaps of fantastical medieval nonsense, and it just somehow kind of works. There's not much more to say, other than this is a reskinned and much more cinematic version of the beloved strategy game. The game does have a weird and mystical chess story and campaign for some reason, and there are some gameplay modes that, again, are just kind of different variations of chess, but they have you doing things like actually having to battle before taking a piece on the board. It's actually quite a lot of fun. So if you love chess and can actually find the game, go check it out. Bikini Samurai Squad. Zombies versus bikini babes, sporting swords and guns. Do I really need to say more? It's not really that good actually. It's kinda awful, but the fact this exists at all is why it's on this list. It's kinda like a much more janky lollipop chainsaw, but way less fun, and absolutely revels in its sexualized stupidity and solely exists on that basis alone. I don't know, it may be your kind of thing. Who am I to judge? FACEBREAKER. The slow motion knockouts of Fight Night are truly a sight to behold, and so gratifying to pull off. FACEBREAKER took that concept and made it look, well, just plain weird. The other thing that's kind of weird about this game is even though it looks like a boxing game or spiritual successor to Ready Rumble, it's actually just a bog standard 1v1 button mashing fighter that's set within a boxing ring. It lacks any of the real strategy, timing, and nuance of an actual boxing game, but it's not bad, it's just forgettable. Operation Darkness. If you like your turn-based RPG strategy games a bit more, unique, well, I present to you Operation Darkness, a game that takes place in an alternate universe where World War II was fought with zombies, vampires, and werewolves. Yup, that's right, the British forces in this game are werewolves, and the fascist army is made up of vampires and zombies. Weirdly though, even though that sounds stupid, the game's graphics and tone are extremely dark and gritty, but when the characters' dialogue scenes are presented, they are bright and colourful and dripping in anime charm. It's truly an odd mix, but truthfully, even though that sounds awesome, the game is awful. Rumble Roses. If you thought Dead or Alive Beach Volleyball was the only game that proudly reveled in jiggly physics, well then you may have overlooked Rumble Roses, which is basically the same kind of bouncy weirdness, but instead of punching a ball back and forth, you punch other scantily clad ladies straight in the face. If you love wrestling games, but don't want to stare at angry steroid-fueled men beat each other up, well maybe this is for you. Just please keep away from photo shoot mode, you're better than that. Naughty Bear. Naughty Bear sees you playing as a bear that goes on a killing spree, just because he wasn't invited to a birthday party. So far, so weird, right? Well, even weirder is the fact this game essentially plays like a much more streamlined version of Hitman. You sneak around and rip the stuffing out of other cuddly bears in a manner of ways that would make Agent 47 smile. It's a lot of fun, but a weird concept nonetheless. Darkest of Days. Darkest of Days is flat out weird. It may seem like a bog standard first person shooter at first, but dig a little deeper and you will find one of the most bonkers, time travelling infused shooters going. In the game you basically play as some sort of time cop who must travel to various wars and iconic battles throughout history to make sure they play out how they are supposed to. The weird thing about this though is you are sent back with ridiculously advanced weaponry. So basically your job is not to mess up the timeline and history, yet you go back to ancient Rome amongst other places with frickin' laser guns. Yep, weird. The game though is technically a mess, but you've got to give it up to the premise. It's so frickin' weirdly intriguing.
You're our last best chance to keep history intact, so no pressure, buddy.
Tornado Outbreak. First weird thing about this game is that if you want to play it physically, it's gonna set you back 55 English pounds. That's a lot of money. Second weird thing is the premise that sees you play as a wind warrior who can turn into a tornado on demand. You start off as a small tornado and must destroy the right sized objects to grow bigger. Eventually you get big enough to level whole buildings and then you find some sort of fire elemental things that are hiding under them. You rinse and repeat this process and fight the occasional boss. And that's the game. Essentially, it's a tornado simulator. It's oddly charming though, and has enough strategy implemented to make the game weirdly addictive.
Zephyr's my name, and my friends and I are wind warriors. It's our universal task to create atmosphere on lifeless planets.
Deadly Premonition. And lastly, we have Deadly Premonition, the true king and definition of gaming weirdness. With this game, the weirdness is kind of what makes the game work, and so goddamn memorable. It's so oddly charming, unique, and janky. Everything from the dialogue, gameplay mechanics, characters, missions, story, and world are just so out there and strange, but just in the best way possible. This is a game that you're either going to love or hate. But if you can absorb and bathe in its weirdness, you will experience something like no other.
Mrs. Olivia Cormack, I am here for Mr. Stewart's lunch. If it is ready, I'd thank you a bunch.
Yes, of course. Just a moment. Here you go. The usual. 1 turkey, strawberry jam, and cereal sandwich.
Sounds like the sinner's sandwich. Self-inflicted punishment to atone for past sins. He's setting an example.
That's it for today. Did I miss any truly weird games? Let us know down in the comments below. And come on, don't be a weirdo, don't forget to like and subscribe if you haven't already.